Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are unpacking a really fascinating module titled The Architecture of Empathy. And look, we're completely moving past those surface-level customer service tips you've heard a million times. Instead, we're looking at the actual structural blueprint of human connection in a service environment. We're going to look really closely at how we fundamentally build a compassionate service experience right from the ground up. Okay, let's dive into this. Serve with empathy and compassion. Now, I know, it sounds super simple, right? Almost like one of those motivational posters you see in a break room. But we really need to pause here and realize that these are not just corporate buzzwords. In the context of our source text, these are the absolute foundational pillars for literally everything that follows. Without these two elements, any service structure you try to build is eventually going to collapse under pressure. They are the absolute bedrock. Section 1. Upholding the core values. So, let's look at that first pillar. The source specifically highlights empathy. Let's do a bit of a deep semantic unpacking of what empathy really means in this architectural context. Empathy is the foundational architecture of understanding the customer's perspective. It's the structural blueprint required to truly see the landscape of a customer's experience. Think about it. You can't build a solid solution for someone if you haven't first mapped out exactly where they're standing, what they're seeing, and what they're feeling. Empathy isn't just nodding along, it's doing the rigorous, structural work of stepping into their exact vantage point. And if empathy is the blueprint, well, compassion is the actual construction. The text pairs these two together for a very specific reason. Compassion is the active elevation of service beyond standard expectations. So the totally crucial point here is that while empathy understands the problem, compassion takes that understanding and actively does something about it. It's the active mechanism, the physical lifting, the building up of the service experience to a place that actually brings real relief and satisfaction to the customer. Look really closely at the specific verb the source text uses here. It instructs participants to uphold the values in the service. Uphold. It doesn't say just remember the values or think about the values occasionally. It says uphold. That implies gravity, that implies real weight. Ask yourself, how often do we let those heavy structural values kind of sag during a super busy day? Upholding requires constant active effort. It is a continuous pushing upward against the daily friction, the stress, and the sheer fatigue of service. It literally means making sure these pillars don't crack when things get difficult. Moving on to Section 2, the mindset pivot. The source text explicitly states that this module aims to tune the mindset of the participants. I absolutely love this word choice, tune. It doesn't say overhaul or break down or force. Tuning implies that your mindset is kind of like an instrument. When a guitar is out of tune, you don't just throw the whole thing away. You make precise, deliberate, microscopic adjustments, right? It's not a massive, chaotic overhaul of who you are. It's a delicate, conscious calibration of your cognitive approach to perfectly match the frequency of the customer's needs. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the actual frequency we're tuning to. It's the shift from the I mindset to the we mindset. Look at that contrast. The I mindset is inherently self-centric. It's all about my shift, my metrics, my procedures, my inconvenience. But the we mindset, that is entirely collaborative. It completely erases the boundary between the service provider and the customer. It says, hey, the problem isn't just your problem and the solution isn't just my job. It is our situation to navigate together. I want you to directly apply this pronoun shift to your own client-facing interactions right now. Seriously, what actually happens to the customer experience when I becomes we? Well, the friction just disappears. The defensiveness drops instantly. The customer suddenly feels like they have a partner rather than an obstacle. By simply tuning your cognitive instrument from a singular pronoun to a plural one, you completely reinforce a collaborative service approach. It's a real game changer. Which brings us to Section 3, always helping the customer. And this brilliantly illustrates a clear, procedural momentum directly derived from the text. Step 1, you uphold the values. That's the heavy lifting of empathy and compassion we talked about. Step 2, you tune the mindset, making those precise cognitive adjustments from I to we, which naturally and inevitably leads to Step 3, helping the customers. You absolutely cannot effectively reach Step 3 without moving through Steps 1 and 2 first. It's a highly structured sequence. And how exactly does the source define that final step? With a surprisingly powerful little phrase, always try to help. Let's deeply examine the absolute nature of that word, always. Not try to help when it's convenient, or try to help when it's strictly within your department. Always. The entire architecture of empathy, the blueprints, the heavy lifting, the careful tuning, it all culminates in this constant, unyielding effort. Even if you don't have the immediate answer, the attempt, the sheer effort to try and help, must be a constant. So we've come to the end of our blueprint review. We've seen the text, we understand the active effort required, the cognitive tuning necessary, and that ultimate goal of constant help. So I'll leave you with this. How will you rebuild your architecture of service today? Which pillar needs to be upheld just a little bit stronger? Where do you need to tune your mindset from I to we? Take these blueprints, step out into your environment, and start building. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.